Charleston White built his whole name off shock value and disrespect, but this time he messed with the wrong family, T.I.'s son, King Harris. For years, Charleston's been running his mouth.
My shoelaces, nigga. Play with me, bro. Don't play with me, bro. Don't play with mine, bro. Don't play with mine. Just don't play with mine.
I remember how you and Wallow were crying. You and Wallow were crying. Oh, my son got killed. Oh, you were crying. Now you talking about snitching. You goddamn right I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Dang, I got family. I got willing to risk their lives and freedom to die by me and mine. You hear me? Why don't...
Clowning King's every move, even dropping threats with Trayvon Martin's name in it. And that's what lit people up with rage. When you drag a man's child into your circus act, that's a line you can't ever step back from. T.
No, gang, I got family. I got who willing to risk their lives and freedom to die by me and mine. You hear me? Why don't play with me, man? Don't play with my child.
I finally had enough. He didn't come forward as the king of the South this time. He came as a father ready to ride for his blood. And his message to Charleston, loud and crystal clear. Certain boundaries can't be touched. Charleston thought it was just another day of stirring drama when he jumped online calling King Harris a nobody, treating him like he wasn't worth nothing. But word in the streets is he miscalculated bad. He thought this was going to bring his usual clicks, views, and fake clout. What he didn't see coming, this might have been the breaking point that changed everything. Because this wasn't harmless trolling anymore.
T.I. and Charleston White are back in the news. It seems like they're setting up a boxing match between each other. Guess T.I. didn't like what Charleston White had to say about his son, King.
This was pure jealousy spilling out. Charleston's bitterness was exposed when folks started whispering that deep down, he can't stand to see a young King shine the way he never could.
Yeah, and he going to jail again. And he ain't grew up tough like his daddy.
At 48, with a platform fading and legal cases stacking up, Charleston turned his frustration into hate, pointing it right at King's natural charisma and influence. The spotlight on King is something Charleston could never match. And now the man who once bragged about never fearing nobody is allegedly scared to even log back online, realizing he may have crossed a line that could put him in serious danger.
What that man had to say about my son, man. Cause somebody please, just pull me up to speed, man. Just pull me up to speed. How some grown man had some to say about my son. Just pull me up to speed on that, man. Just pull me up to speed on that, man. What suck ass grown as wasted his whole life doing absolutely nothing. Got something to say about my son at the beginning of his adult life.
And T.I., he didn't hold nothing back. He let it fly, saying Charleston White is so miserable in his own life that he gotta attack kids just to stay in the conversation. Think about that for a second.
Boy, who did what, who, man, we was about to whoop when you come back down here from telling. Yo, I can see you had a soft up.
A grown man, nearly 50, waking up every single day to hate on young dudes with actual futures ahead of them. T.I. made it plain, I ain't in no gang. Play with my child though, and it's up. Then he doubled down on the truth. While King is only 20 and already earning respect, opportunities, and fans cheering him on, Charleston's biggest accomplishments are starting beef and crying into his phone for attention. T.I. wasn't finished. He shredded Charleston White's so-called legacy into pieces. He reminded everybody of the receipts. This is the same man who snitched on his own friends, got locked up for pepper spraying cats, and even got jumped at comedy shows before dialing 911 for help. That ain't toughness, that's straight clown behavior. And now here he is whining about King Harris, when deep down he knows King represents everything he can't be: young, talented, loved, and protected by family.
My foot so far up your ass, you'll floss your teeth with my Don't play with me, bro. Don't play with me, bro.
Don't play with me, bro. Don't. That was Tip's line, and it cut deep because it wasn't just a threat. It was the truth. Charleston has been chasing relevance by going after successful black families, while his own life is crumbling piece by piece.
I'm a nobody. Your son a nobody now.
After holding his tongue for so long, T.I. finally snapped, laying down a warning that had everyone listening with chills. Play with my child, that's it. No more games, no more patience, no more letting Charleston slide with his desperate online rants. And here's the ugly part. Charleston's attacks aren't just jealousy. They're coming from a man whose whole world is falling apart. That quick rise he had in 2023, already dead and gone. Now he's drowning in case after case, with his career reduced to mugshots and meltdowns. In October 2024, Charleston got arrested in Tarrant County, Texas, on charges of animal cruelty and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. The animal cruelty charge shocked even his supporters. Reports say he pepper sprayed a cat. Who does that? That cruelty showed just how far gone he's spiraled. He was locked up at Lon Evans Correction Center with no bond, a clear sign the system was taking it serious. Then, in February 2025, he landed right back in jail on another aggravated assault charge, though he crawled out a few days later, bragging the charges were dropped. But still, the pattern is loud and clear. Repeat arrests, reckless behavior, no lessons learned, no slowing down. And through it all, T.I. is standing firm, making it crystal clear nobody's gonna use his son as a pawn for clout chasing. Sources close to Tip say he's willing to do whatever it takes to keep vultures like Charleston away from his family, no matter the cost. And the irony? It's crazy. A man with a past full of betrayals, snitching, and courtroom drama really thinks he's in a position to judge King Harris? The hypocrisy is wild. Charleston's whole life story shows exactly how he ended up so twisted. Born in Fort Worth, Texas in 1977, his childhood was pure chaos, violence, dysfunction, and no real guidance. At just 14, he was caught up in a robbery that left a man dead, landing him 7 years in juvenile detention. That was the beginning of the road that shaped the bitter loudmouth we see today. While locked up, he even lost his right eye in an accident, and growing up fatherless only made those abandonment issues worse. That rage and dysfunction became the fuel for the reckless provocateur Charleston turned into. He didn't hit social media with talent or positive energy. He came in with shock tactics, slandering dead rappers like DMX and even George Floyd just to rack up clicks. He didn't earn his platform. He snatched it by being toxic. And that's why his attacks on King Harris cut deeper than just trolling. They're personal. They come from Charleston's own unresolved pain. He claims to mentor youth, but the truth is, he always aims at young black men with talent, love, and solid families, everything he never had. He's admitted himself he felt unloved and unwanted as a kid. So when he sees King Harris living out a young adulthood that was stolen from him, it eats him alive. That's why he can't let King breathe without throwing dirt. The saga with T.I. didn't start as some planned feud. It started as a desperate man lashing out while his name was fading. By late 2022, Charleston was already running out of gas. The shock antics that once got him attention weren't hitting the same. His online persona was collapsing, so he went hunting for a bigger target. And that's when he made the mistake of his life, aiming at T.Y.'s family. On October 8th, 2022, Charleston hopped online and launched one of his signature unhinged rants, not knowing he was stepping into a battle that could break him for good. This time, Charleston aimed his venom not just at King Harris, but at Boozie's son, Tootie Raw too. Both young men had just faced legal heat. King got arrested in September 2022, and Charleston pounced on that moment like a predator circling wounded prey. Instead of offering guidance, like he always pretends to, Charleston went straight for the jugular, mocking King's looks, clowning his future, and doing it all with a twisted grin. That wasn't tough talk. That was flat-out bullying, and it exposed the ugly truth. He feeds off tearing down young black men who embody everything he never was. But this time, Charleston didn't get a silent target. King Harris wasn't about to let it slide. On October 9th, 2022, just one day after Charleston's rant, King hopped on Instagram Live and clapped back hard. He called him a snitch and a coward, dragging Charleston's so-called street credibility through the mud. And King didn't even have to get nasty. He calmly put Charleston's dirty history on blast, reminding everybody how he cooperated with law enforcement and bragged about it. That's what cut deepest. A teenager, barely 18, handled the moment with more composure and maturity than a man nearly 50. The embarrassment cracked Charleston's tough guy mask right in front of the internet, and the sting of being outclassed by someone young enough to be his son had him spiraling. Instead of backing down, Charleston showed his true colors. On October 10th, 2022, he escalated, crossing lines that shocked even his own followers. He invoked Trayvon Martin's name, dragged George Zimmerman into the mix, and weaponized racial trauma just to score points against King Harris. That wasn't trolling anymore. This was a grown man making threats against a rapper's child while exploiting one of the most painful chapters in modern Black history. Fans were outraged, saying Charleston had gone way too far, even for him. Using tragedy and racial wounds as a weapon against a teenager showed how toxic and dangerous his brand of shock jock content had really become. And then he pushed it even further, bragging that he reached out to Atlanta police and even Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis trying to get King locked up. For a man who swears he's for the youth, his eagerness to throw a teenager into the system was pure hypocrisy. On another level, that move confirmed what everybody already suspected. Charleston White's entire platform was built on destruction, not uplift. Charleston never cared about guiding young men. His whole mission is tearing them down. And when T.I. caught wind of Charleston's threats, all patience flew out the window. On October 10th, 2022, Tip fired back with raw intensity, making it clear Charleston had stepped into a zone he could never crawl out of. This wasn't rap beef. This wasn't comedy. This wasn't even publicity anymore. This was a father standing up for his son with the kind of fury that only real love produces. At that point in his career, Tip had shifted focus toward comedy shows and business ventures outside of rap. But the second Charleston tried to endanger King, the old warrior in him came alive. He told the world flat out he'd risk his freedom, his reputation, and every dollar he's earned if that's what it took to keep his child safe. That's the divide between these two men. T.I. has everything to lose, while Charleston has nothing left but his mouth. The contrast couldn't be clearer. One man defending family, the other lashing out because he doesn't have one. And here's the kicker. After the threats, there was actually a chance to squash the tension. The two even had a phone call on October 10th meant to cool things down. But true to his messy nature, Charleston fumbled it. Instead of calming the storm, he ran online bragging that the call went nowhere and spun it into more drama. Then came the wildest stunt yet. Charleston challenged Tip to a celebrity boxing match, demanding Steve Harvey as the referee and even mocking him by saying Tip should wear an eye patch to make it fair. Imagine that. A man threatens a teenager, then tries to flip it into a circus pay-per-view for clout. That exposed his entire mindset. He saw pain and danger as entertainment, while Tip's only focus was his son's safety. And as if that wasn't enough, Charleston dusted off one of his go-to lies, accusing Tip of being a federal informant over his old 2007 Crime Stoppers PSA after his gun case. But the hypocrisy was so thick, it collapsed instantly. This is the same Charleston White who testified against his own co-defendants as a teenager and bragged about cooperating with police. Him calling Tip a snitch for doing a community safety campaign? That was laughable. It was projection at its purest. Everything Charleston tried to pin on Tip, he was guilty of himself. The more he pushed that tired Crime Stoppers angle, the more desperate he looked, because everybody saw the contradiction clear as day. By November 2022, Tip had already answered the noise the best way he knew how, through music. He slid onto Juicy Fruit's track step, and the streets instantly heard it as a Charleston White diss. The bars were razor sharp, slicing Charleston's credibility apart, but here's the twist. They weren't nasty or gutter level. Tip didn't have to get dirty. He used artistry and class, proving he could shut Charleston down with skill, not slime. And what did Charleston do? Instead of catching the hint, he spun it into another circus. In a shocking twist, he actually praised the track and even begged to be on the remix. That's how desperate he was. Imagine getting dissed, then treating it like an invite. For Charleston, even humiliation felt like a win, because in his eyes, attention from a superstar meant relevance. It was like watching somebody so thirsty for clout, they'd drink poison if it meant people noticed. That's the dangerous cycle Charleston lives off. Every time folks try to shut him down, he flips it into content. Every jab, every clapback, every insult, it's all oxygen for him. Without hate, without backlash, Charleston's nothing. That's why he keeps circling back to King Harris. Anytime King goes through through a struggle, a setback, or a vulnerable moment, Charleston is right there circling like a vulture, mocking, attacking, then crying victim once the backlash rains down. It's the same tired playbook. Provoke, mock, flip it into sympathy when people push back. And the sad truth? Charleston doesn't know how to exist without that cycle of hate. His obsession with King Harris didn't fade after 2022. It lingered, always resurfacing whenever King was navigating life changes or public struggles, waiting for a crack to crawl through. That's the disturbing part about Charleston White. He doesn't attack at random, he waits for weakness. Anytime King Harris catches heat in the headlines, Charleston swoops in like a vulture circling roadkill, hurling the nastiest insults just to look relevant again. The cycle is toxic. He provokes, he ridicules, then when the backlash comes, he hides behind excuses or cries like a victim. For a man who swears he's about uplifting the youth, his actions scream the opposite. He's not mentoring, he's hunting. And he targets the sons of successful rappers on purpose because they embody everything his broken past never gave him. When you peel back the layers, this obsession isn't just about King Harris. It's about Charleston's fixation on destroying successful black families. Charleston has admitted himself he grew up unloved, unwanted, and rejected. And those scars never healed. No father, no stability, no family pride. So when he sees T, guiding his kids, giving them the very support he missed, it burns him alive inside. That's why he zeroes in on King. King represents love, opportunity, and a future Charleston can't touch. Instead of fixing his own trauma, he projects it outward, trying to drag others into his misery. And it only gets darker. His threats prove just how warped he really is. First, he references violence toward a teenager. Then he tries to flip it into a circus boxing match with Steve Harvey as referee. As if a child's safety is pay-per-view entertainment. That's not trolling anymore. That's a man completely out of touch with reality. Meanwhile, Tip brought the opposite energy. Every time Charleston pushed, T.I. responded with the seriousness of a father protecting his bloodline and legacy. Charleston milked the feud for laughs, streams, and cheap views. But Tip made it clear, his son's safety is not a joke. That difference is why the people rallied behind him, because they saw one man clowning for clout and another standing as a protector. The streets respect real fatherhood, not clout-chasing dressed up as truth-telling. And that's the wild part. Charleston White keeps reinventing his attacks just to stretch out his fading fame. One week he's mocking King's looks, the next he's calling Tip an informant, then he flips it into bogus legal threats. It's like a carnival of nonsense, all designed to keep his name floating. Did Charleston White already ruin his own legacy? Or will he find another way to stir trouble before it's over? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this breakdown, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next chapter in this wild saga.